This is titled Fort Lewis, Washington, 1987. While on ROTC training, after climbing a condensed, weeded, bushy hill with 50 pounds of rock sack, we made it to a clear dirt road and decided to take a break. 8 out of 11 of us saw the reddish-brown, well-built, 7 to 8 foot tall Sasquatch / Bigfoot standing and observing us 150 yards down the road. A cadet yelled, "Bigfoot," and we all started walking towards it. I, being senior, yelled at the cadet to get back to the group, and if he mentioned this, he would most likely be kicked out of the Army. What a weird knee-jerk reaction that is. The Bigfoot heard me and marked me as a leader. We decided to sleep in this area. And that night, a terrible stench woke me up, but I was so tired I buried my face in my clothes to filter it. The following morning, I saw a large feather laid by my tent. One cadet saw it and picked it up. Retired Army Major Mike. There you go. There you go. Another comment laid down. Now here's another one. I, for one, know that Bigfoot is 100% real. I had an encounter with one when I was 12. I was walking home from my friend's house after dinner about 20 minutes after sunset. I live in a coastal community next to large open spaces. As I got close to my home, my neighbor's fearless hunting dog, Blue Girl, wanted to follow me home. She was a super cool black lab and was very protective of us. As we rounded the corner to the road that led to my house, we heard footsteps crunching down through the trees. I thought it was possibly a deer, or maybe some stoner friend of my brother's. Well, that changed as the sounds came closer, and Blue started sniffing the air and began to whine a bit. She was staring intensely at the trees, and I was talking to her saying, "Good girl, good girl." I wasn't sure why she was starting to whimper, but what happened next, I will never forget. Out from the tree line steps a massive creature that in one step cleared the whole sidewalk and in one more was standing in the middle of the road. As it turns to look at me, Blue Girl was completely freaking out, twisting her head side to side with her eyes rolling back in her head. I grabbed her collar, but she was pulling backwards, and she knocked me down as she took off shrieking. It was as if she saw the devil himself. She ran away so fast, squealing, shrieking so loud, with her tail between her legs. I turned around and got up and just stood there in shock. The thing was 9 feet tall, and with a few steps could have grabbed me and tore me in half, or thrown me 50 feet in the air. It just looked at me for 10 seconds or so, and then with one more step, it was on the side of the road, and then it went down the hill through the trees. So yeah, I won't go anywhere unprepared, although I think there's far more about them than we realize. Yes, there is. And there you go, another member of the club. Here's another one. I'm a retired law enforcement officer from California. I grew up in West Virginia. I was in a tree stand back there in 1979 at 0500 pitch black watching a hillside trail when one screamed/roared at me. I couldn't see it, but it definitely could see me. Since elk and other animals can see in the infrared spectrum, I think they can as well. I now live in Oregon. Elk hunting gets spooky nowadays. Thanks for the info. Right on, man. Thanks for coming forward. I ran into 3 Sasquatches on the PCT trail, where it comes closest to Mount Shasta. One 10, 11 foot alpha and two smaller males. They were absolutely real. They harassed us all night, throwing rocks, shaking trees, and the roaring. Oh my God, the roaring was the worst. Still to this day, I wake up in the night in full adrenaline, hearing the roaring in my dreams. It'll blow out your ears and rattle your rib cage at the same time. They're so effing big, you can feel every step they take. They make ground tremors when they run. I'm lucky I had a friend with me and we were both heavily armed. We shot over their heads, warning shots, when they would start getting too close. Our headlamps kept them back at first. We had super bright 18,650 LiPo-style headlamps. But our batteries ran out around 1 a.m., and that's when we built up our fire, which was a mistake. The fire got so hot we couldn't stay close and for us to look away from it constantly. That's when the roaring started. Straight up, piss your pants roaring. At one point, the Alpha was roaring, shaking trees, and overall making a huge amount of noise. My cousin and I stood, white knuckle gripping, our rifles pointed in its direction, waiting for it to charge. But to have another Sasquatch sneak up behind us and explode our fire with a huge boulder it threw. Wow, haven't heard that before. That's freaking terrifying, man. No person could have thrown a rock that big. I snapped around and let 5 shots go high. Since I couldn't see it, I didn't feel right aiming low. We used our guns to keep them back, and yes, they know what a gun is. We burned through probably 30 rounds in warning shots till the sun rose. The next morning, we left the area in a hurry. Later that day, we came across someone who was camped 3 to 4 miles away, and he could hear our shots and the roaring. Later that year, I moved to the only state to have 0 Sasquatch encounters, Hawaii. Well, I hate to be the messenger, but they've been seen there too, man.